And welcome in now, Dr. Scott Morrison. If you want to know about the horse's foot, I would ask Scott Morrison, really. And this time of the year especially, you'll hear horses on the Derby Trail. Quarter cracks comes up a lot. What is a quarter crack? No better expert than Scott to talk about it. Dr. Morrison, thank you for being with us. What is a quarter crack exactly out there for the layman?
Well, quarter crack is, basically we divide the foot into different regions. You have the toe and the heel, and then you got the, between the toe and the heel, you have the quarter. So, a quarter crack is a crack in the quarter region, as opposed to a toe crack or a heel crack. And quarter cracks typically occur at the hairline. They start up at the coronary band. So a lot of people falsely categorize cracks that are on the ground surface as quarter cracks if they're in the quarter, but those are more properly referred to as sand cracks or weather cracks. But true quarter crack is up at the coronary band, and they're usually full thickness and they bleed, so they're kind of a serious deal.
It irritates, obviously. It affects training. Put patches over it to cover it. Try to get everything, because let's face it, pretty much your knees, your back, your feet, for any athlete, human or equestrian, you need those. How tough is it to treat a quarter crack and get the horse back on the track in racing?
That's variable, because it depends. It depends on the conformation of the foot and how healthy the rest of the foot is. Usually horses that have quarter cracks typically have a kind of a lower or compromised heel. So some of them could be pretty straightforward. You could patch them and put a special shoe on to unweight the area, and you can get them through, and continue on training and racing. The only complications is if one's been festering for a while and has an infection in there as well. That'll delay things. And infections you can't just treat overnight. A clean crack that's just not infected, you can just patch and pack off the bed of the crack so there's no glue or anything touching the sensitive tissue, and that usually suffices and you can go on. But if there's an infection or something that brews in there, that can certainly delay things. That just takes time. There's no way to speed up cleaning up the infection. We put them on antibiotics and soak the foot and put topical antiseptics on and things like that, but that's going to delay it without a doubt.
You're a farrier, right? So you're also a farrier and a veterinarian.
Yeah, I'm a farrier and a vet. Yep.
I mean, I can't think of a better thing to become a vet than be a farrier when you're working on feet. I mean, it's a natural, isn't it?
It's coming really handy. It's coming really handy having knowledge of the foot, because there's a lot of health and medical conditions of the foot. So being a farrier certainly helps me deal with those problems.
You hear about trainers changing shoes sometimes with a quarter crack or other things, especially shoes with a racing horse. How valuable is that good shoe? I guess like with us, if you got a bad shoe, you get a blister on your foot if you go out even for a half a mile jog.
Yeah, changing shoes is imperative. Race horses are asked to be in their competition shoes all day long, all night. They're basically in their cleats. So you can imagine if you had to wear your cleats, your golf shoes all day long, probably wouldn't be the best thing. You'd want to take them off and put something else on. So I mean, it's one of the negative consequences of shoeing horses for their athletic use. So when they do have a problem, we try to bring the foot back to a more natural condition. Put something on that loads the frog and other structures. So typically when a horse has a quarter crack, you'll hear people putting a shoe on with frog support or a heart bar or maybe a bar shoe. Sometimes you'll hear a Z-bar shoe. That's a shoe that has a little frog support plate on it, and then there's a quarter of the shoe that's cut out, so that area under the crack is just unweighted and there's no shoe under there, so it's kind of basically floated in the air and unweights it. Those are some shoes you'd probably hear about on horses being treated with quarter cracks. Another shoe is a 3/4 shoe, they call it. It's basically a regular horse shoe where they cut the heel out of that quarter of the shoe so that part of the foot's unweighted that way as well. So quarter cracks are they occur. They're just a consequence of kind of the sport they do and the shoes they have to wear. And like anything else with horse health care, the further you get from what's natural from them, whether having to wear shoes has negative consequence. So when they have a problem, we try to bring it back to what's natural for the foot, a natural loading pattern to the foot. Try to mimic that barefoot condition that they were intended to be in, and that things typically heal well when you try to bring them back to to nature a little bit, or what's natural for them.
Scott, thanks for being on with us. People will be hearing about quarter cracks, I'm sure, during the Derby and Triple Crown runs on horses. Now you know a little bit more about them. Dr. Scott Morrison, thank you for being with us on the Vet Check from Rood Riddle.
Yeah, you're welcome.
All
Appreciate
right.
it.
We'll be back with more of the Horse Racing Show right after this.